Today we're going to talk about who I think is the best epic in Raid Shadow Legends. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. I wanted today to talk about who I think is the best epic in Raid Shadow Legends. I try to shy away from these videos a little bit, right? And I'll just be honest with you, I kind of want to talk about that a little bit too. There are different places where different champions are going to be good, right? Not every champion is useful in every area of the game. That's part of the reason you need to collect all of the champions. You know, if they made a champion that was good at PvE and arena and siege and faction wars and clan boss, that champion would be called Marius. But outside of Marius, you know, no, all jokes aside though, I mean, Marius is good everywhere. I think if you have him, you kind of understand that. And even if you don't, you've probably gone up against a few in arena and you're like, this isn't fair. But when it comes to epics, right, there's always going to be somebody talking about how, you know, this champion can change your account. This champion is the best champion that you've ever seen. And trying to find my words here. I don't want to be like it's all BS, but like, you know, it's just exaggerated, right? Like, there is no, outside of Marius, there is no one champion in Raid Shadow Legends that is going to completely win you the game. Listen up, I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril, as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. By the way, I'm hovering over Seer right now. That is not my answer. That's just the top champion on my roster. So, but I was thinking about this earlier today, and I just wanted to kind of like have a conversation about this champion because they are just so damn good. And it's really hard to overlook how good they are. And I want to give a few like shout outs, talk a little bit about why other really, really good epics don't rise to the level of this one epic. So we're gonna start there. Yes, I'm going to make you wait a little bit longer to find out who my choice is. It's YouTube, baby. That's how this works. All right. First, I want to start. We've got Seer on the board. Let's start with Seer. Seer is an amazing epic. Very, very strong. One of the handful of epics that you will use well into the late game, if not even continuing into the late game. But she's not my choice, and it is solely because of the drawbacks. Unfortunately, removing all of your own buffs in a lot of different areas of the game can hurt. Turns out removing your own buffs can have negative consequences for you. And that's kind of my frustration with Seer. I've had a Seer team as my wave clear team for a really, really long time. And ultimately there would be certain stages in Doom Tower hard where I'd have to go in and manual the fight because on auto, Seer being Seer, I didn't have like the constant cooldown refresh that you would prefer to have. So I had to keep like going back in and making sure that she saved her cooldowns for the second wave, and you know, or making sure that I saved other cooldowns to try and get her stuff back. So yeah, it was just always a thing. Only certain fights. It wasn't all of them. And when I say certain, probably maybe like 5 different fights across the whole tower where it's just like, oh, she's not going to pair very well against that composition type thing. But Seer is a great epic. Got to give her props. Next just happens to be right there is Geomancer, right? Geomancer is so freaking good. I mean, if you pull him early, completely changes your account. You can do everything. If you guys remember my free-to-play series, the OG free-to-play series, when I started my content for Raid Shadow Legends, essentially, or right around that time, Geo was a big part of that team, and a big, like, I pulled him early, and it changed everything. I was able to do bosses that I had no business doing. Clan boss was a piece of cake. Everywhere was so much easier because I had Geomancer. I love this guy. Definitely up there as one of the best epics in the game, but why does he not top my list? Why is he not the number one? He does fall off. Eventually, you do get to a point where the mechanics of Geomancer don't continue to be valuable. Before you guys attack me in the comments, I just want to be clear about what I'm saying. As the bosses get harder and harder and harder, you don't want to take hits, right? So the whole concept that Geomancer brings to the table, which is like you hit me and you do damage to yourself, a lot of it is a good concept. It's awesome. It's a boss killer. That's how you use Geomancer in the early game. The problem is, in the late game, you don't want to get hit, right? It's not so easy to survive many hits from a boss. So Geomancer tends to fall off where other champions excel and, most importantly, are faster, right? Because you have your Chrysias, you have your Newts, you have your Mariuses, who do so much damage so fast that what would be a several minute team with Geomancer, because you have to take a bunch of hits from the enemy, can turn into a 15-second team with the right champions on your roster. So Geomancer does fall off. It takes a long time before he falls off. He is still one of the best, but his usefulness does have its limits and is not always the most applicable in all scenarios as you develop your account. Now, you may not be there yet and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Roadblock. Geomancer, I don't know how I'm going to make it without Geomancer. I never would be as far as I am. And you're absolutely right. You wouldn't be as far as you are. I wouldn't be as far as I am without Geomancer. But I get to a point where I just don't use them anymore. The last kind of honorable mention I want to give is for Uugo. I would rank them kind of Geomancer 4th, Seer 3rd, Uugo 2nd, and then I'll talk about my number 1 here after we talk about Uugo. The reason I put Uugo at number 2 is that unlike, well, look, Seer does get use in the end game, and if you have all the right champions to make her work, then you don't need it to do kind of what the switch that I've made, but I've just had better luck running a regular nuker instead of Seer removing my buffs. So that's a personal preference. You guys may not agree. That's totally fine. But again, this is my list. This is my YouTube channel. You guys don't have to agree with me. I just want to have a conversation about it. Uugo is my number 2, and that is because Uugo is still used well into the late game, especially in Hydra. I have been saying for so long, that I wanted a legendary version of Uugo. I essentially wanted a champion that would bring decreased defense, weaken, and block buffs, right? So you take this decreased defense and block buffs, you throw a weaken on there, now all of a sudden you have a legendary Uugo. Uugo, in her own right, is a legendary, and I want to be very clear about that. This kit is a legendary kit. Decreased defense and block buffs, amazing in not just Hydra, but so many different areas of the game. If you're looking for a decreased defense champ, you don't have Lydia, here's your answer. Then you have a situational full team revive, and that situation isn't that hard to hit in the early and mid game especially. A mini cleanse and a heal by this champion's max HP as well, so it's not like a nothing heal. And leech on the A1, and a passive that if your whole team dies, which is what, you know, you're kind of looking to have happen if you want to use the revive, right? Because they all need to be dead. It saves her life and makes it so she is the last to die, which allows you to use this to its full effectiveness. So I think I still use Uugo in one of my clan boss teams. I just kind of reworked these teams recently. So what do we got? Yep, Uugo is in my brutal team. You know, that just goes to show you the power of Uugo, the power of that champion. That, you know, so still used today in my account, which is pretty deep into the late game, I would say. My number one pick, Godseeker Aniri. I think, by the way, the reason for this video today is because I just +4'd my Godseeker Aniri. Like, while I was trying to decide what I wanted to make for a video today, I was just like playing around in the, what is it called? The empowerment, right? And I empowered my Godseeker to +4, which I pulled on stream a couple of nights ago, right? And I was like, I should make a video on Godseeker Aniri. So here we are. Godseeker Aniri is who I view to be the best epic in the game. It's a tight race between those four for me. And there are certainly some others that are in the conversation as well. Keep in mind that just because a champion was impactful to you doesn't mean it was as impactful to me. But Godseeker Aniri is incredibly impactful for many different reasons. A lot of it has to do with the meta right now, but a big chunk of it has to do with one of the most important dungeons in the game, which is Sand Devil. I feel like I've made videos on this before, so I won't go too deep into it. But of course, I've been running a little bit of Sand Devil over the last couple of days, and this is my team. I've got two champions, Godseeker Aniri and Newt. And this could be Ninja, this could be Geomancer, this could be any random burner that you have. Like, you could put Godseeker and whoever on this team. It does not have to be Newt. Newt is just kind of the right answer to it from an affinity perspective, and because he hits very hard on enemy max HP hits. So, Godseeker kind of enables this team with essentially Newt dies, Godseeker revives, and refreshes the cooldown. Newt hits the boss a bunch of times. They both die. Godseeker revives herself. Then she revives Newt. Boom, boom, boom. That is essentially how the team works. It's just a team that the two of them can't be killed by the one shot because of the cooldowns, the rotation of that cooldown. So they get killed and come back to life, essentially, is what I'm saying. So that is one of the big reasons, but there's a sleeper reason that I think will catch a lot of you off guard just a little bit as my reasoning, right? Because I'm sure you're like, well, you know, you faulted Uugo for really only being used in one area, and Seer you faulted for X, Y, and Z, and Geomancer you faulted for falling off. I don't use Godseeker anymore. I've built a different team for Sand Devil, etc., etc., etc. I totally get that. Again, this is just my opinion, guys. I'm happy to read the comments and get your thoughts and discussion, but I'm not trying to say that you are wrong simply because you don't agree with me. That's not it at all. I'm just explaining my side of things. But the one thing I don't think gets talked about enough is the A2, right? We talked about the automatic reviving, right? We talked about the revive that they can revive a dead enemy and refresh their cooldowns. We've already talked about how that's valuable for Sand Devil and other areas of the game, but for my money, one of the biggest areas, and this goes back to my free-to-play account, is this A2. Attacks all enemies, heal all enemies by 15% of their max HP. That's a pretty weak heal. Then decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn, and increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. Think about the meta that we are in, guys. Wixwell and buff extension. Godseeker brings that. And I think a lot of people forget that part of the kit because they're so focused on the reviving concepts of the kit that they forget that she's also a buff extender. And in a world where we're looking for 3 buff extenders per clan boss, she can be that buff extender for you in a Wixwell team. So at the end of the day, between Wixwell, Godseeker, if you pull her, and Mikage, you have your buff extensions right there. You've got all the buff extensions that you need using Godseeker Aniri. I did that on my free-to-play account for a very long time. Godseeker Aniri was part of my ultimate shield building Wixwell team. And so that's a good part of the kit. Buff extension is a big deal. That's great in, like, even let's take the Wixwell thing out of it. You throw Godseeker Aniri into a clan boss team and you're extending those ally protection buffs. You're extending those strengthens, those increased defenses, and making that fight last a little bit longer while also bringing a little bit of healing and even some reviving to get maybe a few extra turns. I'm not saying she's the greatest thing to ever happen to clan boss, but I do value that buff extension quite a bit for improving your tankiness in those ways. So I'm actually a really huge fan of Godseeker Aniri, and honestly, as far as the epics go, looks so good, right? Just, you know, big shield. Look at the detail on the shield too, right? Cool glowing sword, armor clad, you know, the angel wings kind of concept here. I am just such a huge fan of the look of Godseeker Aniri versus a lot of the other epics that I don't really feel hold up. I do like the look of Tagoar quite a bit, but outside of that, you know, the epics look good. Like, this is good. Like, I think this is well done. I like the way Deacon looks, but I don't think it's quite as cool as Godseeker Aniri looks. So, you know, that is a big factor for me. I'm sorry, guys. You don't have to agree with me, but I looks is a big part of it. I also think Whisper looks so freaking good. Not for any, you know, not because it's a chick, but just the general kind of concept. I like the all white and kind of the what would this be? I almost want to call it a turtleneck, but it's not. Either way, guys, my point is made that I think Godseeker just looks really good as a character model and has a very good kit that I think can work in many different areas of the game. In the early game, in the mid game, in the late game. She's the answer to a lot of problems. And by the way, I don't know which rotation it is, but there is a rotation where she can solo. If you build her right, she can actually solo Amius as well. So absolutely love Godseeker. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I crazy? Should I have picked a different epic? Let me know. I would love to talk about it. Maybe we'll follow this video up and go through the comments or something like that. But either way, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. That is the best way to support my channel. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Take care.